Welcome to TecoGuide, the only app designed to help you navigate your college and career journey in the quickest and most affordable way. This podcast is brought to you by EdTechity, dedicated to opening doors to higher education and career opportunities for all.
What's up, everyone? It's Professor G and another episode here with Theo Ra. We're going to call this one episode 2, Mind Right, Life Right, Mental Habits of the Successful. So welcome back, Rob. Thank you very much for joining us again.
Thank you. I love being here.
So, Rob, as we were speaking in episode 1, where we covered a bunch of different things, especially the 4 agreements, right? So we want everyone to review those 4 agreements, and please review episode 1 to catch some of those highlights and topics. But today, we're going to revisit that wheel of life, right? For you to get us really back on track. And we're going to talk about a bunch of things, including what I call, the haters in your life. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know what you call them, Rob, but I call them haters. And so wherever you want to start, Rob, wherever you want to start, Rob, let's go ahead and take it in.
Okie. Well, so living your best life, right? The 4 agreements talks about you as an individual, being impeccable with your word, not making assumptions. Don't take things personally and always do your best. Okay. You embrace that. You walk around with that in your head. That becomes your passport to a good life. And now you start. There's 8 elements to what are commonly referred to as, living your best life. 8 aspects of it, 8 different things that you do. Now, I wanted to start off today, though, by talking about the resistance that you get. And I'll use myself as an example. It was one thing when I quit smoking. That wasn't that big a deal. My friends still smoked, and they all, hey, why do you want to quit smoking? Blah, blah, blah. Well, I did. I wanted to quit smoking. When I stopped gambling, same thing, right? I left some friends behind that I used to do that with and so forth. And it is what it is, man. But you know what? It wasn't an activity that was making me better. It wasn't fulfilling what I looked at as being my purpose in life and what I was about.
So so those behaviors, right, that you're starting to change. When you say resistance, that's the people around you that are resisting the change.
And there's a number of reasons for that. The big issue is when I lost 125 pounds. My eating buddies, people that I would that like to feed me. I'd go into people's houses. Oh man, here's Rob. Feed him. He loves food. Or things with my wife. Even, gosh, we've been married over 50 years. And I'm changing my habits because I have to. Right. So the point being that as you get older and you start getting better able to address those issues with people, right? Now, these days, somebody wants to give me a hard time for the changes I've made because they can't. Excuse me, but no, you know what? It's all about me and my house and the choices that I'm making. So, but when I lost my weight, my goodness gracious, man, a lot of people didn't want to see it, didn't want to hear about it because they themselves were stuck. And they realized that what a giant job it would be. And I'll ask you, when you broke away from the normal place where you grew up and the friends that you had and so forth, and you made the decision to get an education and to elevate yourself to a different life, did you get any resistance from people?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, when you, at least in my case, right. And I think with most students, the same thing is I work with them every day. Right. So out of the thousands of people I've worked with to try and figure out, what's your best academic pathway to make it to where you want to be, the reality is you have to change a lot of things. So in my case, I had to stop drinking so much. I did have a drinking problem. I come from an alcoholic family. When I was young, it was always around. I started dabbling in that, early in age, and it led to a lot of trouble. It led to a lot of fun times too that I thought were fun, right? At that moment, as a young man, it could be reckless and not really having a path. I realized, oh my God, I'm starting to get incarcerated. Right. The levels of violence were skyrocketing. And I said, no, I got to change something. And I right away realized, well, wow, okay, my personal behaviors are leading to a lot of this. So I stopped drinking for a number of years to try and clean up and do something better. Lost all my drinking buddies, right?
Exactly.
Lost all my street homies that wanted to go to the bar and hang out and get crazy. Lost all of them, right? Literally one at a time until finally they were gone. And then you're right, then you start doing good. You start realizing, wow, if I focus my energy on myself and cleaning myself up and really having a goal and a plan, I start losing them. So I lost some family members, right? I used to have some cousins that used to talk to me all the time. Now they don't, right? My brothers and sisters, and half of them decided, you know what? We don't want the new Mauricio, right? We don't want the new Professor G, right? We know him since he was a child, and we loved what he was,
right,
and not what he's becoming.
Does he think he's better than us now?
Oh, I got that so much. And it has nothing to do with you, right? It has nothing. I was trying to explain to him. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with me.
Exactly. Well, absolutely. So that's the point. I mean, and I have that throughout my life as well. Believe me. Okay. So the thing that really hit me last week as I was doing my normal things and so forth, I went in to see a client, and he's Latino. And his business partner is Latino. And I go in there and I am really anxious for them. Okay. And I'm anxious for them because I spend a good hour and a half, 2 hours every day following up what's happening in our country before the Supreme Court, before Senate, actions are being taken and so forth and so on. And it is bothering me to a point that I haven't felt bothered since the 60s when I was an activist, okay? I mean, there's just some shit going on that
the political turmoil, yes. Political BS that's happening,
So I go in there to talk to this company, and I love them dearly. I really do. I'm an advocate for everything that they've done, and they've been very successful. And I called this meeting because I wanted to make sure that we had a game plan together on a lot of different things. First of all, there's a sort of a potential recession coming. We don't really know what's happening, but their business has fallen off because some of the markets are closing up on them, and all that. So what bothered me though was I'm bringing this stuff to them, and I'm excited about it. I am ready to get in there and start look. Here's what we're going to do, type of thing. And it was like, it was not on their priority. Like, oh, well, it's okay. We're okay, blah, blah, blah. So the point that it drove home to me is you have to have a priority on your to-do list, right? You have to have a priority that says my health, my relations, my existence, the choices I'm making. There's two things that we've got. Every human being's got it. Time and choices. Now, sometimes your choices are limited because of where you're at in your life. Maybe, to take, for example, I read a book that I absolutely loved called James. As a matter of fact, just won the Pulitzer. And it was written in retrospect of Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. And it was from the Black perspective of what it was really like to be. And I'm reading that, and it just, oh man, the writing is so clear. It's so cool.
It's a different view of that same story.
Exactly. And so,
I've heard of it. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard of it. It's on my to-do list.
It's tied with the best book I've ever read, and I've read a lot of books, okay? So the point being that James, in this particular case, his choices were extremely limited. Okay? He had time. The choices weren't as big and as broad. Finally, he decided to open up another choice, another channel to his life, and escape enslavement. Okay? Yeah. And that was a very, very difficult choice to make at the time. Man, you got killed and all that. So the point being that wherever you are right now today in your life, here it is today, and you're wondering what I'm going to do tomorrow, or I'm wondering what my life's going to be like. I wonder what choices I have. Now, TecoGuide has opened up a tremendous amount of pathways to better choices. But if that's not on your priority list, if moving ahead and getting educated and having doors open for a great career, if that's not on your priority list, you might as well just throw it away because you're not doing it, right? So the same thing is true with all these choices that we have to make. How we're going to take care of our body, how we're going to have our relationships, how we're going to handle our finances, how are we going to handle abuse in any number of ways. So when we talk about living your best life, and we talk about the 8 elements that focuses on, how much of a priority, where on your to-do list today are those things going to be? Okay, so let's take a look at that. So these are the 8 elements. I'll go through them once again, and I'll start with business and career. Okay, and we'll go clockwise around this thing. So you make a choice to say, I want to be as effective as I can in my ability to make myself valuable to my community, whether that means getting a technical education, whether that means getting a master's degree, a PhD, whatever that might be. Whatever is the best path for you to maximize who you are, what you want, and what your life purpose is. I guarantee you that every human being walking this earth has those 3 elements in their life. They can figure out who they are. They can figure out what they want, and they can figure out what their purpose is. Now, oftentimes, those things will find you.
Yeah.
Okay. Your own.
Yeah, and I'm glad, and I'm excited that you're starting with business and career, because what we don't realize is that, we're doing business and career 30, 40, 50, 60 years of our life. Right, is here, right? We spend most of our adult life working. Right?
Yep.
8 hours a day. We spend most of our life in a working team environment, right? Where we spending, think about it. You're spending 40 hours, once you're working full time, you're spending 40 hours a week with in this other place, away from your family, right? Away from all of those, support systems, etc. So it takes a significant part of your entire life is this thing called career, business, job, employment, and like what you're saying, if we can improve that slowly, little by little, the choices we make in terms of our business, in terms of our own career, ultimately the goal would be to achieve that better life, right? That happier life.
No question. And here's what I wanted to add to the discussion today. Science is a process. Science is a process of collecting information, data, what have you, evaluating it, and having it influence the change of what was accepted before. And I say that because your business and career is a scientific process. Okay? What you start may be very different than where you end up. And so you never stop looking at yourself. You never stop this process. If I look at my own career, 50 plus years, I've had at least 5 different aspects of my career related, mind you. And thankfully, they all seem to fall back on my 3 things: who I am, what I want, and what my purpose is. So today, I can look I'm 73 years old right now, okay? I can look back on my career. I can look back on my life since 1973. And I can say, okay, I didn't know why I started. I started off because I had to make a living. I started off in the insurance industry because I could.
You got to pay rent.
You got to pay rent, and I'm pretty good at slinging shit. Okay, so here I am doing these things, selling a lot of insurance and doing all those stuff and all that. But I began to look beyond that as I was an insurance executive. Right, I began looking at what the policy itself represented, what it covered, and so forth, and why they needed it. Well, I thought, well, wait a minute now, so risk prevention. I'd rather have them do stuff in their lives that would prevent the accident from happening in the first place than insuring against it happening. And that led me to all kinds of things in life. Whether it be the personal aspects of the business people, whether it be the next business issue you should get into, all that stuff. So the point being that your career and whatever business you do is an ongoing process. You're going to start at one place. Now, if you're right. Lucky enough,
and it's evolving, right?
Constantly. And the same thing is true all the way around the wheel. Same thing is true with your finances. Same thing is true with your health. My God. I mean, when I first started, eating, drinking, smoking, partying, blah, blah, blah. If life, man, this is fun. And as I've said in the past, these are all a bunch of pleasures.
Yeah.
But pleasures
and I want to
happiness.
And I want to emphasize to your listeners, you have to constantly be evolving in all of these areas, right? And when I talk to some of my students who are still teenagers, right? Mm-hmm. They're evolving themselves, but at the teenage, right, age bracket, right? Those 10 years of that. And then when you enter your 20s, right? You have to know, I have to evolve. The goal in life here is not to stay the same. Mm-mm. Right. And people often want you to stay the same. And we're often taught to stay the same. And
that's how you're defined.
That's insane.
That's how people define you. Oh, that's Mauricio.
Yes.
He's the educator guy, or that's Rob. He's the insurance guy. Whatever.
Oh, and when I was 18, I was Mauricio, the violent, right, angry, young man that you don't want to deal with, right? And then now, in my 40s, it's
I have a hard time.
Professor G, the educator, and
look, when I think about you, and I think about your incredible wife, I mean, I think about what a wonderful evolution you guys bring to the table, and that's where I got this whole notion that life is a scientific process. Mm-hmm. Okay, you're going to find stuff that doesn't work for you. So for me, I mean, it was all these other habits I had to break, and then the hardest one was my weight. That was the toughest.
So you had to evolve your diet and the way you thought about how you eat, where your energy comes from. So it's evolution, because before it's same with me, right? Before I wasn't paying attention to the nutrition or the nutritional value of the things I was eating. But as I got older, you start realizing, I've been feeding myself just terribly. And so we're evolving. And so I think what I want my listeners to hear is, you have to change. I expect you to change. I expect you to change and grow. Right? Don't ever listen to someone say, you're changing. That's a good thing. Right.
Well, that's right. And so that's I'll bring it back to the conversation I had with these people last week, right? Their priorities were not addressing the things that, from my years of experience, needed to be addressed. And today, okay, why the hell is this not your priority is beyond me. And they didn't want to think about it. They didn't want to have to deal with it, right? And the same thing could be true with quitting smoking. It's not a priority. Eating, taking care of your body, not a priority until it is. For my own case, my mid-50s, my doctor said, look, man, you got type 2 diabetes, it's going to kill you. You've got heart disease, you've got high cholesterol, all these different things. So if you don't change, right, you won't see your granddaughters achieve high school, let alone anything beyond that.
Wow.
And that was a wake-up call. My doctor, he just said, look, you're a good guy. Love you, man. Not a problem. But you're killing yourself. And it's your choice on what you do. Well, that was almost 20 years ago. And here I am. When I finally decided to make that my priority, which
is on the wheel, right? Which is on the wheel, your health, right?
Health,
this part.
man, right there. And all of a sudden, achieving that, getting that down, it opened my eyes beyond anything else in my life. Because if I could take 55 years of poor habits and conquer them and get rid of them and replace them with really super healthy habits, what else could I do? What else can I achieve? And before you know it, man, the things that are most important to me, which really is, I want people that are suffering to not suffer any longer. I want people that are oppressed to not have oppression hit them any longer. I want people to achieve their best selves. I want people to be happy, healthy, and feeling really good about where they are in life. That's my bottom line, okay? And it took to realize that. And I realized that I have a lot of tools now over my 5-6 different things I've done in my life that I've made money at and evolved. I realized, well, I had a hell of a tool chest to offer people. That's why I'm here with you today, right? I want people to understand choices and time and priorities. So your priorities should be developing yourself on all of these items. Business and career, absolutely. Finances, of course. Health, my God. You know, I when I first got through with all this, I wrote a book after I got through with all this. And I used to do a lot of public speaking. I'd be invited to go to places and talk about these things. And I'd say, you know, first of all, the day that I have now with the food that I eat, the exercise that I do, the relationships I have with all my people, there hasn't been a day in my life any better than that when I was smoking, when I was eating, when I was drawing inside to a straight to win a big pot, you name it, okay? None of those things, they were happy, they were pleasurable. You know, sure, I loved hitting inside a straight and hauling in a $3,000 pot. Big friggin' deal. Okay, no. And so you go through these things and you realize, wait a minute, man, if all of these other things, fun and recreation, personal growth, my relationships, thank God my wife stuck with me all these years. I mean, all these things, my physical environment, well, you know, so it all comes together. It all comes together. Right. And so the earlier you start this, the earlier you make, I hope that there's somebody that's 16, 17, 18, 19 years old listening to this. And I'm going to tell you, I remember like yesterday when I was that age. I do. I was in high school and I was an activist and, you know, doing all kinds of things. And I was living more of my true life then. I mean, I was involved with workers. I was involved with anti-war. I was an activist. I was a disturber. Right. And it was nice. But then I left that when I said, oh, wow, man, look at that. There's money. There's gambling. There's some drinks. I can go to lunch, blah, 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 blah. No, man, stick with who you are. And so you can do it. So the earlier you look at this wheel of life and you embrace these things and you wake up in the morning and on your agenda, on your priorities are these 8 elements. And you look to see, what am I going to do today to build on them, to improve on them, to fix what's broken, whatever it might be. The earlier you make that decision, holy crap, man. I mean, I was thinking about this. In my life, I've been really blessed to meet some really cool people, okay? For example, Willie Mays. Amazing guy. Loved him. Watched him growing up playing baseball and all that stuff. Well, I had lunch with him a couple of times because I was working on a nonprofit fundraiser and so forth. And I mean, you know, growing up in Alabama and doing the things that he did and all the racism that was existing and the limitations and so forth. And yet he's not bitter. You know, he was a solid man. I had a chance to meet Muhammad Ali. Man, I visited with him. I had about a half an hour conversation with him on the street one day. Same business, man. Same thing. This guy is just incredibly got it together. And he always did this. He, as a kid, I mean, he knew he wanted to be something and do something. So he made choices all the way around that were amazing. Okay. Yeah. So these are just a few examples of some of the people that I've been so blessed to interface, just to have an exchange with, and they would give me their energy. It's like, wow. So all that stuff adds up to living a spectacular life. You know, your romance. Yeah. I mean, Rob, you know, you're bringing up so many topics that I'm thinking, wow, you know, I want to tell my listeners that, hey, this is an evolution. Evolution doesn't happen tomorrow. It doesn't happen next week. It takes time. And I'm trying to say, like, wow, my romance life has evolved over the last 40 years, right? Yes. Where I misunderstood what it meant to be in love when I was a young man, because I had a definition of love that was completely incorrect, right? And my behaviors towards women, right, were disrespectful. My behaviors towards, you know, my own mom and sisters
was disrespectful in a way where our relationships couldn't grow. And vice versa, right? Because they're behaving in a similar way back to me, and then it's just it becomes so toxic that we start losing the understanding of what love really is, right? And it wasn't
Absolutely.
until my 30s and then early 40s where it's like, oh my God, I had to redefine myself in terms of what I understand romance to be, in terms of what I understand family and friends to be. You know, I still have problems communicating with my brothers and sisters. You know, there's 5 of us, you know what I mean? And you know, just true story here. My brother has been calling me from prison probably the last, I would say, month, just really reaching out because my other brothers and sisters have completely abandoned communications with him. And even though my brother's been through a lot, in and out since he was 12, you know, that love of brother is still there. And yeah, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of damage. There's a lot of blame. There's a lot of, we lost our father. My mother's super elderly. And we you know, there was a lot of things I carry of memories that could have been so much better if we would have behaved differently. I was a part of it. My brother was a part of it, etc. And now at this age, I've come to terms with it. And I'm like, yeah, brother, call me. You know, when are you getting released? You know, are you getting,
That's
you know,
cool.
and how can I help you? You know, and that's how I left it. You know, yesterday he calls me, you know, I put some money on his books and stuff, and I had to figure all that out again because now it's all electronic for him to communicate. And so all I could say is, how can I help you?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Like, tell me.
But that
how
shows
I can
who
help
you are. That's all about who Mauricio is. Okay. You talk about, you know, who you are, what you want, and what your life purpose is. Those 3 questions. And so you've come to a point now where you have evolved and worked your way out of and through all those relationships, all that evolution imposed upon you by people that didn't go through the process. Mm-hmm. And they still haven't gone through the process. I have a sister that I haven't had a relationship with in almost 30 years because we took different paths to handling the problem with my dad. Okay. Yeah. And I wrote her a letter last week. I sent her a package and I wrote her a letter not knowing what would happen. And the letter I wrote was a real short, simple thing. And it said, look, we haven't been together in almost 30 years. And I have gone through a lot in my life. I figured out a lot of things. And in my path, I figured out who my dad was and why he was making the choices that he did and why my mother was who she was and made the choices that she did and the impact it had on my oldest sister, and then the impact it had on you, then the impact it had on me. So the bottom line is I had to realize that all these different people in my life that had put a lot of pain on all of us, okay? A lot of pain.
Yes.
I had to realize that, wait a second now, Rob, you know, why? What did my dad experience to what led him to behave this way and make these choices? My mom. And I began to dig deeper and deeper and deeper, and I could see why they did what they did. I'm not saying it's right, and I wish they could have overcome it, but the bottom line is, these are the choices that they made based on the environment they were living in, based on the people and the experience of their day, and so forth and so on. Same thing is true with your folks. I mean, I'm sure of it. You know,
exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
So I'm saying all this because if you're a teenager right now, and you're listening to this, or if you're a 40-year-old, or if you're a 60-year-old, because it's never too late. Believe me, it's never, ever,
evolution
ever
don't stop.
No. And it's never too late to be your best person. It's never too late to be in your best health, and so forth and so on. So if you're listening to that, if you put as your top priority to live your best life and to make all these things as close to 10 as you can in every regard. It doesn't do you any good to have a $500,000 job and have 0 on everything else. Your health is shitty. Yeah. Your relations are crappy. Your kids don't know you. They don't love you. Blah, blah, blah.
I have some friends who make so much money, and I'm talking about into the millions,
Ooh.
But at the end of the day, you might as well make zero. Because
Exactly.
your wheel of life is not a wheel, right? It's just one of these pies.
It's
and
a hiking
no other
stick.
substance to it, right?
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart because it's like, wow, you know, if they understood this wheel of life a little more, then maybe they could live just a happier life. Because money itself doesn't make you happy, right? It's really having that balanced life with all of these 8 categories.
Exactly. So that was really the message I wanted to convey today. And I don't care whether you're 15 years old listening to this, 30 years old, or 70 years old. The message is, if you realize all these elements that constitute your life, and you ignore 6 of the 8, you're not doing it. You're not doing it.
The odds of being happy are so low, and you might tell yourself, "I'm happy." You might, because we do that often, right? To try and motivate ourselves to do other things, but in reality, when it comes to the balance, there is no balance.
No, I think what you're talking about too is, again, people mistake pleasure from happiness. Yes. Happiness comes from deep within. You wake up every day. I look outside my window today, and I look at the forest that's out there, and I look at my kids, and I look at my grandkids and what they're going through in our life. And man, you know, it is absolutely pure happiness, far more than I had when I lived in a 5,000 square foot house in Texas, and I had 400 employees.
Yeah.
And I was, I was 75 pounds overweight.
Right. And I think people, you know, the more we talk, it's really living your life with purpose.
Absolutely.
Is you understand my purpose in this life is to be as happy as possible until the lights go out. Right. Exactly. And in order for me to be as happy as possible before the lights go out is to have a balanced life as much as possible and identify those parts of my life that I need to put in a little more work or make slightly different decisions so that I can improve that part of the wheel.
Well, and it's funny, the 3 things that I continue to talk about, you know, who are you? What do you want? And what's your purpose? The sooner you put all those 3 things and you got them and you figure it out and you live your life that way, oh man, the rest of this stuff is easy peasy. Okay, not a problem. Yeah. And so like in my case, it was maybe 10, 12, 14 years ago when I was in my early 60s, late 50s, whatever. And I stopped and I thought about those things a great deal. And I looked back at my entire life and all the things. And I've always been very passionate about helping people, solving problems, having people live a better life, period. I got that from my mom, maybe. It doesn't matter where I got it, but that was it. And I was not living my life or my career necessarily on those things, okay? And so what did I want? Well, I didn't want a big house in the suburb. I didn't want to always have a $100,000 car in the driveway. That wasn't important to me at all. I was doing that to show everybody else, hey, I could do this, wow. Right. That doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter at all. And so my purpose really was to say, okay, do whatever I could do every day to share my compassion, to be patient with the situation, don't get upset, and to really do what I have to do, what I can do, what I'm given, the tools that I'm given to live my purpose in helping others and evolve. And I don't care whether it's a dog, my neighbors, it doesn't matter. I want everybody to live their best life. And I don't mean to have it sound anything other than that just happens to be what happened. My granddaughters, they're as different as night and day. One of my granddaughters is incredibly gifted in so many ways as an artist and so forth. And she hasn't figured out how she's going to use all those tools yet. Okay. She just hasn't. She graduated from Berkeley yesterday and it's like, what am I going to do? I don't know. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, and yet her sister, who's younger, holy crap, man, she has mastered who she is, what she wants, and what her purpose is. She's traveling all through Europe, and it's just breathtaking how she spends her time and her days and so forth. So the point being, it is a scientific evolution process. You start to look and get data in areas of your life. Data in this wheel here, right? So what's my feedback? What's my physical environment like? What personal growth am I achieving? What's my romance like? Okay. And all of those things will give you an idea of how successfully you are evolving and applying those things that come to you. I mean, it's like you're in finance. They talk about a FICO score, right? Your credit score. Okay. Well,
I've been at the bottom of the barrel. I've been at the bottom of the barrel FICO score a couple times in my life. So I know exactly how to raise it into the 800s because I've been at the 500.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I mean, I've had a company with 400 employees. And I've been bankrupt a couple of times, different things that just got in my way, and I was distracted with my life and so forth. And when I finally got it all together, it's like, whoa, wait a minute now. No, I mean, I've got a great FICO score, but I don't need it because I don't want. I got everything I need. Okay, it's all good. Right. I would much rather spend my time volunteering at an animal shelter walking dogs than trying to figure out how I'm going to make another $500 today. Right. That's just it. So
right, and you know, now speaking of finances, evolution, right, is growing, right? When I was a young man, you know, I would spend like crazy.
Exactly.
I would spend every penny, like literally every penny in my wallet, whatever, my pocket. I could literally spend down to the pennies, and it wasn't getting me anywhere. Right?
Well, you knew how you could get
I wasn't
more.
Growing.
You knew how you could hustle and get more if you needed it. Okay.
Right, but then
replenishing it is not your business and career.
That's right. And so I had to evolve in terms of my finances. Is as a young man in my late 20s is when I started like saying like, hey, how come this bank account doesn't grow? You know what I mean? How come I'm making a good, you know, I finally finished college. So now, you know, you have that professional job and now, you know, you're making a lot more than you were when you didn't have a degree.
Right.
It wasn't growing and I couldn't understand why it wasn't growing. And it's because I didn't have a visual of this wheel of life and starting to understand like, okay, I might be at level 1 finance right now. But if I'm at level 1 finance, right, there's a level 2 and there's a level 3 and there's a level 4. But I have to now learn those processes and really seek out how do I start to build generational wealth in a way that the money that I make in my career this lifetime can be helping people and helping my family into another lifetime, right? Even after I'm gone. And it was like, that was a big wow for me saying, okay, it's time to first step 1 for me was I'm going to stop spending recklessly. If I don't have to spend, it's not going to get spent. Right. And so then you start making different choices to not spend. Right. Meaning Starbucks. Goodbye, Starbucks.
Yeah. Well, and so it's your legacy. and it's like as you're trying to raise your FICO score and your finances and so forth, it's the opposite with weight. I was 300 pounds. I think, oh, shit. 290. Yeah. 275. Hey, I'm getting there, man. 250. Holy crap. You know, 10 more pounds and I'm at my ideal weight. No. My ideal weight in high school, I was 225 pounds and I could lift 300 pounds, right? I was strong. I was a wrestler. I did all those things, right? Well, guess what? My true weight is about 175. Bottom line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For your height, exactly.
Boom. 5'10", 175. You know, I'm in really good shape these days. You know, I work out in the morning. I do my hill walking and all that kind of stuff. The point being, progress is not going to happen overnight. You're not going to lose the weight you need overnight. You're not going to elevate your FICO score right away. You're not going to evolve from...
Make a lot of money next year. No, not a lot of money next year. No, it takes time. Yes. Exactly.
So the earlier you start, though, the easier it is. So if you're a teenager right now and you're tuned into this thing because you really want to know, you know, how do I become an executive at a company and make $1 million a year? That's not the point.
Which is easy, which is doable. It's way doable. I know personally lots of people who make far beyond that. And it's like, wow, I didn't, as a young man, I didn't understand it, but now as an older man, I do understand it, and it's real, right?
And how much of a check do you have to write to overcome 25 years of ill health and bad habits? Right? And when cancer strikes, I've lost a lot of friends.
It doesn't care. It doesn't care how much money.
Go ahead, write a check out for that. No. Wait a minute. That check's not going to do me any good. No, it's not.
I mean, a perfect example: Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs had billions. Doesn't matter.
No, and the same thing is true with your kids. If you've ignored them and so forth and mistreated them because you were so busy trying to make a buck, and you're on your second marriage, and your kids that got married aren't even talking to you because you weren't there for them. Why should they be there for you, or your neighbors, or your friends, whatever that might be? If you screw up the rest of these things and succeed in that, it's worthless. You're not doing yourself any favors or your family. So
that's why I love this wheel, because it brings it makes you look at your life, in a digestible way, right? It's eight elements. But now if you only focus on, say, one of those elements, right? And let's just say personal growth.
Right.
Right.
Perfect.
Tell me about personal growth.
Right. So I will. And so my vision for the series that we're doing here is to dig into each one of these things. Okay. One episode at a time. And it didn't have to be long. Okay. But I wanted the foundation of this to be the importance of putting these things on your priorities. They've got to be something that means more to you than doing, this is it, man. You got to do these things. So like personal growth, for example. I mean, there's not a day in my life when I don't do something to learn more, to achieve more. So like, I'm reading books, I'm watching podcasts, I'm studying politics, what's happening in that area. I'm looking out at the environment. Mm-hmm. So personal growth is enhancing or increasing your ability to be a really productive and great human being. That's personal growth, okay? I mean, because you have to look at things in a certain way. There's a really smart people that I've read, and I've appreciated all the things that I've read from them. And for the moment, the name escapes me, the guy that said this, but he says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Mm-hmm. You start to notice things because they're now important to you. When I see people, that's why, when I look at people, I look at their energy. What are they bringing to the table? That's why I'm so, that's why I love you and Maria and your family so much. You guys are all
thank you. We love you too.
Well, I appreciate that, I look for things. I look for different things. I look for character.
Yeah.
I look for decisions that people make. I look for what they're bringing to the table. I mean, we're not going to be here very long. I'm going to be here in a blip of time. If I'm lucky enough to live to be 90 in my 90s, which I hope I can, I mean, that's like a nanosecond of this century. It's nothing, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? When I transition into whatever's going to happen next to me, I'd like to build on what I've dealt during this time. Okay. And it's taken me a long time to get here, but that's why I'm here today. That's why I'm talking to you folks. Now I can give you in-depth discussion on any one of these 8 things. Finance, I was a financial planner. I was a business financial planner, personal financial planner. Health, I mean, forget about it, business, I know business inside and out. Fun and recreation, well, I was a fly fisherman, a tennis player, and a golfer. Okay. I mean, so there's lots of stuff that I've done. Okay. Yeah. Now I can put it all into perspective, and my purpose is to share it. And if I hope and I pray that people listening to this will understand it, digest it, and embrace it. And if they have any questions, any help, let me know. And if I could give you any help on any of these things, man, I'm here because that's my purpose. That's what I'm doing, okay? And I'm not doing it to boost my ego or anything like that. I don't care about any of that. When you're at this point in my life, you believe me, the only person I have to impress is me, okay? Not anybody else. I just want to know at the end of the day, did I do another thing that I wanted to get done? So please, if you're listening to this, digest it, look at it, embrace it, call me up, let me know what questions you have, write me a text or an email or whatever, and I'll share with you, how I reacted to that in romance, how I reacted to that in health, how I did personal growth, my physical environment, how I changed every one of these. I would, I'm anywhere between a 7 and a 10 on all of these. Maybe an 8 and a 10.
Right. None of us are, I don't think any of us are 10, to be honest with you, right? I rarely give out 10s to people in the first place.
No, right.
It's really more of your own personal environment. So Rob, earlier you brought up some identifying qualities, right? Who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? Those are like global questions, right?
Absolutely.
You're not supposed to really know the answer, especially because it's evolving as well. Who I was when I was a young man is very different than who I am now, right? What I wanted 10 years ago is completely different than what I want now because of that same growth and evolution, right? And my purpose has completely changed in life. From 5 years ago, right? And so as you're learning about this, because I'm learning about, you're teaching me about this, Rob, about these 8 elements. I'm seeing like, okay, everyone stop. Don't seek the answer. The answer seeks you.
You got it exactly, Mauricio.
You're not going to know. You're not going to know. So stop looking for shit.
No. When I was first introduced to these 3 things, there's a gentleman named Dr. Deepak Chopra, okay? Well-recognized author, speaker, all these things. I was in an auditorium with 1,000 other people listening to this guy speak. And after about 90 minutes of his overall presentation about different things, he says, I want everybody now to meditate with me. And I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. Who am I? What do I want? And what's my purpose? Now, don't you try and answer these things because you don't know them yet. You continue to wake up in the morning, throughout the day, you ask yourself these questions, and it'll come to you. They'll show up and you'll realize it. Holy crap, man, that's right. And when all 3 of them line up and you're living, all these elements, these 8 elements are doing that, man, you cannot beat the feeling that you have in life. It is just, it's orgasmic, okay? It's better than anything you're going to do.
It really is. It really is. And then everything you do is not work anymore.
No.
It's purpose. And it just completely frees your mind from all of those rules and blocks that would stop you before, right? And you're still going to have challenges, lots of them, because you're now living that purpose. But that purpose is so important that your life just really becomes literally like your best life, right? When you find that purpose.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll end my thoughts this week on the following. I recently had the honor of meeting a very young and extraordinarily talented musician. His stage name is Billy Strings. He's a superstar on the bluegrass scene and so forth and so on. Young man. And he is very public about how he got there. He grew up in a family. His mom and dad were both heroin addicts. He lived in a trailer. He grew up in a trailer. He himself was a heroin addict, and he was on that path and so forth. And all of a sudden, one day, it's like, whoa! He was about to commit suicide, and he stopped, and he grabbed his life. Now, this gentleman, I've been blessed to hear some of the greatest guitarists and pickers the world has ever seen. This guy's on top of all of them. Okay. And he's getting the fame that he deserves. So I wrote him a letter. I knew I was going to see him. So I wrote him a letter. I said, look, you're every bit as good a human being as you are a musician. And I tell you, here's why, So he recently came out and he said, with his success and all the money he's making now, he's a huge artist. He says the first thing he did when he got a big giant paycheck, he says, I had a choice between buying myself a Ferrari or buying my mom a house. I don't need a Ferrari. I need my mom to have a place to live in that she can call home and feels good about. It's her first real house.
Yep. For the
Character.
rest of her life, yes.
Yeah. And this guy, I mean, he's just, he's in his early 30s, you know, and I got to visit with him. I was up at a place where a lot of those artists are going to be. We're celebrating this guy's life and so forth. And he just impressed me immensely. Because he had a choice. He could do whatever he wanted. He's not living a life of gold and jewels. Yes. He's living a life of purpose. He's living a life at his guitar playing. If you ever have a chance to listen to anything by Billy Strings, man, this guy is beyond compare. And I've heard the best of them. So anyway, I just, you know, things like that blow me away. They just when somebody succeeds
humble, just hey, you know, massively successful, humble, and just really about helping others.
Exactly. So there you have it.
So Rob, I wanna give some people some actionable, right? Things that they can do. Right. So, you know, there are any morning routines, those types of things, self-talk. Sure. What can our audience take from this to really begin and continue on this evolution the rest of their lives?
Well, so the very first thing I think you need to do is you need to write down what you want your health to be, what you want your finances to be, what you want your relations to be. So take a moment out on these 8 elements and have a goal for yourself. This is what I really would like. Number 1. And you put that on a piece of paper in the mirror in your bathroom. So you see it. Put it just look at it and remind yourself all the time. This is the goals I have for business and career, family and friends, funds and that. Okay, write it down. Now, when I get up in the morning these days, I've done it for years now. I know I need to exercise every day. So the first thing I do in the morning, I get up after I don't even have a cup of coffee. I get up and I go outside on my hills out here. My property gains 100 feet from the bottom to the top. It's like walking up a 10-story building. I do it a couple of times. And while I'm doing that, I remind myself of what I want. I remind myself of the goals that I have on these 8 topics. And I do it out loud. I mean, I'm up here all alone, so no one's going to hear me. And I'll do it out loud, right?
You mean a guy talking in the forest by himself?
If a guy talks into the forest, will anybody hear it, right? So I do that. And I puff and I huff and I go up and down. I go up and down, up and down. I go up anyway. And then the other thing I do when I'm done reinstating and telling myself and the universe what I want, okay? Then I tell the universe what I'm so grateful for. My health, my family, the property I'm living at, I repeat my gratitude on that same journey. And so I'm combining the exercise of going up and down the hills of my property along with out loud talking about these things. Then I go into my garage. I have a exercise system in there called a Bowflex, and I do my upper body exercises with that. Then I come in and I have my diet is just dialed into me now. I know what I'm going to do. I have a lot of fiber. This morning I had oatmeal, I had berries, I had walnuts, all that stuff. So I'm ready now. Come. And that starts early. That starts at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. So by 8 o'clock, I'm ready, baby. I know what I want. I know what I want to achieve. I know what I'm grateful for. I've already set my body on a healthy app for the day, So have a routine like that. Develop what your routine is. And the earlier you adopt it,
right,
the better you are.
The better.
Okay?
So, and we have to emphasize this, right? Back to when you get up in that morning, right? I want all our learners to do a little bit of exercise, right? Yeah. And it starts off with things that are ambitious but obtainable, right? And you can change that, right? And you can change it. So maybe today I'm going to do 5 push-ups. That's it.
You've hit something.
Nothing
because
else.
I became a certified personal trainer about 1.5 years or 2 years after I began doing all of this, because I wanted to know all about it, okay? Now, push-ups are the gold standard, period. Okay. And when I first started all this stuff, my goal was to do 10. Then my goal became 15. Then it became 25. Then it became 30. Then it became 40. Then it became 100 a day, 30, 40, and 30. And I did that until my shoulder got all screwed up. But but you have to have resistance training and you have to have aerobic training. So you hike, you walk, you do whatever, 20 minutes a day, period.
Exactly.
20, and that's your deductible. You can do more than that if you can, but so if you got to wake up earlier, great. Okay. So,
and it might start with 5 minutes. It might start with 5 minutes for the first 2 weeks, right? Do not rush it, because as soon as you rush it collapses on you. Right. And that's why, people rush to diet right away. People rush to the gym and they've never been in the gym, and they rush to the gym and they fail. Right. And it's because you're biting off more than you can chew. It is not part of your routine. It is, you still have yet to see the benefits of it. So then immediately people will quit. And so I used to do that all the time. I used to quit on anything having to do with my health, anything having to do with exercise. I used to quit all the time because I would say, no, I can handle it. And I would try it. It's something new. It's a new routine. That in order for me to adopt that routine to permanent, lifestyle of mine, it has to be taken in chunks, small chunks. And so now, nowadays, I'm able to do the 20, 30 push-ups in one shot, right? No problem. Before, I couldn't do 5. 10 years ago, I couldn't do 5.
No, I get it. I have a good friend that I saw him recently. I love to bake, as you know, right? I'm baking all this great stuff, and it's all healthy, good stuff. And I'm offering him one, and I'm trying to lose weight. Well, what are you doing? I'm on a water diet for the next until I get down to. What do you mean you're on a water diet? I don't eat. I just drink water. What in the? What are you doing, man? It's exactly
crazy
the
stuff
opposite.
out there.
You're going to shut your digestive system down, and when you're done, woohoo, you're going to go right back up. So the point being, I took me a year, 6 months of intensive work with a registered dietitian to save my life, to teach me all about food.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I learned a lot about it, and that's what got me into the baking business. That's why I have I do long-term fermented sourdough, whole grain, organic food. Okay. So you brought up such a good point in that you start off knowing what your goals are. What are your feelings? What are your goals right now on these 8 elements? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want to be said about yourself? What do you want to say about yourself? What do you want the truth and the reality to be on these 8 issues? Okay. And step by step. Okay. It's like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, man. So.
And I want to get back to something you mentioned earlier, is writing things down. So basically and effectively, you're journaling. Is really what you're doing, right? You're keeping a log. And nowadays, I got to throw this in here. Nowadays, we got artificial intelligence now, right? So you could actually tell, your GPT on your phone, hey, I'm just going to walk and talk about my journal. And you can actually journal in a way where it will provide you even feedback, right, in terms of what it is that you're doing. So, you can journal old school and pen and pencil. You can journal by doing notes on your phone. You can journal by using an AI to just document the things you're thinking, the things you're, that positiveness, right? The prayer or the spiritualness, right? That you go through, right? You say you go into the forest and the positive affirmations. Some people pray a rosary. My mom, she gets her energy early morning. She does a rosary, right? And it takes her 20 minutes and she's just focused and really putting it out into the world, the goodness she wants to do that day. And when she comes out, it's like, whoa, you're glowing because you're able to really be one in with nature, right? Whatever your goal, whatever you are, right? Whether it's spiritual, whether it's, atheist, don't believe in it, doesn't matter. It's that positiveness, that positive reinforcement, that those affirmations, the journaling that you may do that really brings out the goodness of who you are. And that's what allows you to grow.
I have 3 journals. For the 3 years after I transformed my life and my health and so forth, I have 3 journals filled every day. What I would do is I got to the point where I could kind of sit together and I knew what I wanted to eat. So I would say 3 times 2 plus 2. Now it meant something to me. It means I had 3 of the meals that I decided I knew I wanted to do, and there were 2 of the snacks that I knew I had to eat. Okay, and if I did that, I made a note. Then I would have the total. I'd have 20 PU, 40 PU. Okay. Then I would have hiking. I went a mile and a half today. I went 3 miles a day. I got to the point where I was doing 6-7 miles a day in the hills in the East Bay, in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I loved it. But I journaled every single day on those things until finally I got to myself, well, Rob, I mean, man, this is, this like your own name. This like, I was stopped for a ticket the other day, and a local CHP guy, and I'm looking, oh shit, now what, and all of a sudden I realized I didn't have my wallet. I left my wallet at home. I was on my way to the store. Okay. So,
no idea.
Nothing. So he's a nice guy and all that. I said, but I know my number. It's, I have my driver's license number memorized. I said, what else do you want?
Yeah, me too. Yep.
Yeah. So he gets back to his car. And he comes out about 5. I said, what the hell, man? Why is it taking so long? Write the damn ticket up. I'll figure out what I got to do. 84 into 65, right? Not good. So he comes back and he says, and he's from the CHP office is right down the street from where we are. And he says, okay, Mr. Ferguson. He says, we're going to give you the neighborly discount here. I've seen on your driver's record that you're clean. You're all good. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling that you're pretty much with the wake-up call here, and the ticket I would otherwise give you is huge. It's gonna cost you a lot of money. Yeah. It's gonna raise your insurance rate.
20 all that miles per hour over.
Right. So he says, so here you go. And he said, what I want you to do is to bring your driver's license into our office and show them that you in fact have one. I want you to get your windshield fixed, and I want you to promise me and yourself you're not going to do this anymore. I said, done.
Yeah.
And that was it. Didn't get the ticket. Okay. How cool is that?
Nice.
But the point being, what is it you journal? I mean, as often as you say your driver's license number or your social security number or your home address or your telephone number, all those things are stored in your mind. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can store other things in your mind as well through journaling. Mm-hmm. And do it. Yeah. And by the time with me, the first 45 minutes to an hour of every day is spent doing what I've told you I'm due, right?
Yeah.
It's such a habit now. It's like, oh crap, rain or shine, doesn't matter. It's snow. We get snow up here and I'm trudging through the snow and all that stuff. So the point being, start young. I hope that you're 15.
And it's purposeful because now it's not just in your mind. When you journal, you actually then now reinforced it a second time, a third time, a fourth time. So it's really,
you're accountable to yourself.
Yes. So
there's a reason thine own for self be true, right?
Exactly. So for the young people listening, you're not doing it to just write shit down like crazy. No. You're doing it because it's reinforcing it here.
Exactly.
So that, and the more often you do it, the more it's reinforced, the more likely that you're able to actually do it, right? And that's really the reason journalism works, is journaling just everything that you got going on. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Well,
so this really helps. This really gives us some tips for our audience to actually do some things. Is really start the journaling, the positive self-talk. Staying grounded. Really focusing on this thing called life and the 8 elements that you can actually influence, right? And you can influence these over time, and it's part of that evolution of life. And we hope everyone gets as close to that 10 as possible, especially in those areas where you have it low. Like in mine, back to my brothers and sisters, right? Our relationship has been so bad for so many years that I now have accepted it as that's where I need to focus. My siblings, right? We've just been, distant. And when I mean distant, I mean, in some cases, there's been a couple years since I hadn't talked to my sisters, and it's just breaking my heart now. I'm again, you know what I mean? It did it when I was younger, but now that I'm older, it's like I'm missing this piece of my will of life,
and they're missing you. Okay, my older sister last week. I mean, she says, Rob, it's a shame that our middle sister, is making these choices because she doesn't know who you are today. She has no idea who you are or what you're doing. So it's like this. When I was a kid, I used to think, oh man, wouldn't it be cool to open to discover a treasure chest buried somewhere? Man, there it all is. Yoo-hoo! Okay. So these days, when I think about the treasure that I want to discover, okay, let's say you're 18 years old and you'd love to find a box with $10 million worth of gold in it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Great. But you know what? Instead of the true treasure is to find a box, and in it is validation that you've got these 8 elements of your life done, because that's worth far more than any box of gold, any amount of money. You get these things, and guess what? All of these 8 things are in your control. They're choices that you make to invest in them and to get them done. So you can create your own pot of gold. That's the life, I tell you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there you have it, man.
I completely agree.
What a good way to start the day, huh?
That's right. With this amazing conversation on a beautiful Saturday morning.
You got it, man. Well,
so one last tip. Tell me about this checklist I should create.
Well, so you've got
a daily success, right? A daily success checklist. Tell me about that, Theo Rob.
Well, so where do you want to start? What do you want to achieve on these 8 elements? Okay. Mm-hmm. Business and career. Great. Okay. Well, I want to be fulfilled, in my time in making a living. I don't want to just go there to make a buck. I don't want to go to this job just because I want to make sure that my family feels good, like we're a good middle-class family, whatever. Okay.
Right. And let's be honest, that is part of it, but it's not all of it.
No, that's right. So you, and maybe it is, maybe your goal is, like if I won the lottery tomorrow, okay, and there's $100 million or whatever, I might go ahead and put $1 million in our family's bank, but the other 99, it would be used to create solutions and true benefits for people. Okay. So the point being, you look at these 8 elements and you write down today at age 16, age 28, age 50. Okay. What is it you want? What's it going to take for you to score a 6, 7, 8, 9 on that list? Make it short, make it sweet, but just identify it. There it is, right? There is your list. There's your checklist of what you have to keep in mind. And today you might work a little, maybe once a week, you'll make that phone call that'll keep your relationships cool with your family. Maybe every day it's health and relationships and so forth. Your finances. You know what? My paycheck came and I took 10% right off the top. I put in the bank. Period. Long to be forgotten about. You know what? I'm going to call my old high school buddy and see how he's doing or she's doing. Okay. Yeah. And these are ways to say, so in every one of these elements, there's something that you look at that says, what would that represent for me? Health. Okay. So what do I want to do? Well,
I'm going to interrupt you here, Rob, because I need some advice here myself. Okay.
Okay.
I told you my brother's going to be released here, from prison here pretty soon.
Okay.
It's a big step because mom's still around. Mom, came up, she's staying with us now for the next few months.
Nice.
There's been a lot of damage and trauma and restraining orders and drug addiction and violence beyond what most people should ever see and feel, and so I do have a lot of anger still from 30 years ago, right? About some of the lost time, right, that we have, and so now as a much older adult, someone with a little bit more people skills than when I did when I was 20, it's still constantly in my mind now, right? How can I help my brother?
Yeah. So
even though like in the back of my head, I already, we've been down this a million times,
right?
It's always the same result.
Yeah, you've okay. So this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Okay, and thank you for sharing that with us. So the first thing you have to embrace and fully understand are the difference between the things that you control and the things you cannot control. You got to remember that. Things in your power, things that you control. Okay, that's number one. Last week, I had this experience trying to get my sister back on board. I haven't talked to her in 28 years. Right? I wrote her a letter. My sister got a phone call from my other sister saying, what's he doing? I don't want him part of my life, and so forth and so on. And she says, I'm so sorry. I said, don't be sorry for me, man. Do not be sorry for me.
Yeah.
I looked at the situation. I did what was in my control to do. I sent her a package with some really nice food and a letter that I wrote. That's in my control, okay? And I opened the door for her to come in. Now, in your brother's case, so he is probably going to be pretty damn lost, I would imagine. Yeah. He's coming out, now what, and so forth and so on. So and you can't make his choices for him. You can't make his decisions for him, okay? What you can do is give him love and acceptance. You look at today being a brand new day. Today is a new day. Here you are, here I am, here's mom, here's my life. It's a new day. So why don't we focus on making your first day, your first week, your first month, your first year, the best that you can make it. Okay, and what is that best going to be for you? What does that look like to you as the best? And he would describe it. He would say, well, I'd like to get a job. I'd like to, regain independence, build a life, whatever. That's what I'm imagining. Okay, and so you say, okay, you could start by helping him with a path. Here's where you might want to put your first step. Okay, how's that feel to you? That feel good? You know what? Exercise, man. Why don't you go out there and chop some wood for us? We could really use some help in that area, and it does us both good. It gives me the wood for the fireplace. It's great, and it gives you strength, and it gives you things. Maybe why don't you take a moment out and bake something? Things that he can do positively. The guy's never. I'm sure I would imagine he's never baked a pie in his life, probably, or anything like that, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So you say, look, if you were to reach into your heart and into your mind and feel really good that you were able to do something really well. And it's not going to be great the first time out, but the second time or the third time or the fourth time, it's going to be pretty damn good. It's a path of achievement. So bearing in mind, number one, there's a song, row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Okay?
Yeah.
Row, row, row your boat gently down. The reason I sing that song is because the moment I start putting my oar in someone else's boat, we're both going to sink. Ain't going to happen. Neither one of us is going to go happily down that stream. So if you embrace that, and if you, by example of your relations with your kids, by example of your relationship with your wife, by example of the property that you have and the things you're trying to do, and welcoming him to come and giving him something that he could, at the end of the day, can say, I did this today. Hey, man, I got this done. And what else would you like to do? And step by step.
Now that you say that, Rob, I've never been welcoming to him.
Yeah. Well, he's a human being, number one. He's your brother, number two. Okay. He deserves all the compassion.
Yeah. That compassion, that gives me some clarity here. And that's what happens is sometimes clarity comes in a few words.
Exactly.
And that's the way you understand it. So the way I understand it, the way in my perspective is, oh my God, I have never been welcoming to him.
You got an amazing family.
Yeah.
And as and each of them can give this guy a hug
there.
and say, welcome to our life. Welcome in. We're glad you're here. We'd love to see you. You know,
and I've never done it because I hold grudges from the past. Yeah. I would see my mom crying, right? And right. I would see her worrying. I'd see dad and what some of the actions would trigger, right? And certain behaviors. And I still hold a lot of anger, you know, towards my brother. And I was part of that too, but it's one of those things that, wow, I'm so glad we brought this up because
I am too because there's nothing. Look,
I've never been welcoming to him.
You can't. The thing about history is once it's done, it's done. Once the words leave your mouth, you can't do a damn thing about it. You can't take them back. Once you hit somebody, you can't unpunch them. Once you steal something, you can't undo that act. It's all behind you. It's all done. And it's out of your control. You cannot control what has happened. What you can do is understand it, embrace it, learn from it, take the lessons of it, and move on. Yeah. And let go of everything else. And you got to bear in mind, the lessons that you look back on today and you extract from all those experiences are still open to editing going forward. Okay, there's no. I mean, I'm learning that myself. I got some years on you, and I've got a lot of experiences, my own separate variety of them. But I can't change any of those things. I can first of all embrace. And what am I doing today? How am I living my life today? Am I impeccable with my word? Am I not making any assumptions? Am I not taking things personally? And am I doing my best? If you can answer yes to those things, and some days you're going to do better than others, right? Same thing with your brother. Same thing with your mother. Same thing with your dad. All those things, man, everybody had their own. So right now, how do we make today better? You put something on your plate to do today that will allow you to succeed, that'll allow you to share it with others, especially food, okay? I go back to that, man. If your brother, you want me to bake a pie, bro? Come on, man, what the fuck? I don't know how to do anything like that. Yeah, but guess what? The moment you do, yes, you can, first of all. The moment you do, you get to share your love through food that's tasty, healthy, wonderful. And you did it. Yeah, man, you did it. I remember when I made my first loaf of bread, I couldn't believe it. Wow, bread. Who knows how to make that? Not me. Okay. But once you do it, so you give your brother things like that, opportunities to share, to show the family how much he loves them, because he knows how much they love him. And he gets to do things that today it's something very simple. Yeah. Tomorrow it'll be that plus something. The next day it'll be that plus something. That's it. You know. No,
there's a lot to do. There's a lot to do, and I'm so glad I asked you because you put it in a way that I could understand it.
Well, I appreciate that.
And being a good person, we're welcoming to others, right? Regardless of the past, and the past is the past. We can only move forward. So I
that's
think
why I'm not talking to my sister. My dad did some stuff, and I worked to improve him. I worked to make him a better person. I make him to realize what he did. And after all those years, he finally did. He finally looked up to these things now, and she got pissed at me because I went past that. And I wanted to make him a better person. And she's still pissed at me because of that. So, you know, I can't change. So when my sister says to me, I'm so sorry that she didn't accept your thing. I said, don't be. Right. I am not in control.
You're doing what you can. Yes.
Yeah. I can't. I'm not making her decisions for her. I'm not choosing her reactions. Same with your brother. You're not going to make his decisions for him. You're not going to do his choices.
And he may continue to make mistakes, but I will continue to be welcoming and helpful in his evolution, right? Because he's also evolving. Not in the way I would love to see the speed of evolution, but no, again, it's evolution. It takes time.
Well, thank God he's got you,
care and love,
and your family to help him. Because if he didn't, if you weren't the person that you are, if your wife wasn't the person that she is, and you've endowed your kids with that, which is amazing. I love that. So you're all ready to do this thing. You're all ready to bring him in and do these things, realizing that nobody's going to control him. All you can do is show him the benefit of what you're doing and the approaches that you take and how you're reacting to things. These are the benefits for us. And he's got to find that path for himself.
Yep. Well said, Rob. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. That gives me a plan now. Now it's like, okay, I understand a little bit more now. And so I hope that, and when I'm looking at my own, piece of the pie here for family and friends, right? My friends and my nuclear family, which is my children and my wife, I'm a little higher than what I am in my, birth family, right? The family with my brother, I'm at a 1-2. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's my focus now, right? Is how do I raise it from a 1 to a 2 or to a 3 slowly, right? And then eventually help him where I can to get my relationship with him up past 5, right?
Does he have any friends from 20, 30
Not
years
anyone.
ago?
Yes,
no.
And
I'm saying, does he have anybody way back there, right? That he may know of. The reason I say that is this. If he were to call somebody that was a part of his life 20, 30 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever that might be, and say, I just want, how are you doing? Are you doing well? How's your life? Is there anything I can help you with? I know what my life's about. I know what I want to do. But we had a relationship at one point, and I wanted to know how you're doing, and can I help you with anything? Helping others. I tell you what, man, some of the best things you could possibly encourage your brother to do is to volunteer at a place where he could be of some help. Mm-hmm. Whether it be an animal shelter to walk dogs and brush them and keep them in good shape, whether it be going into a senior living place where the people are sitting there and some of them, are not healthy. Some of them are, but you share them some love. Read a book to somebody. I had a friend that overcame a brilliant, bright, well-educated PhD guy, hooked on Coke. And as part of his recovery, he would go every week and he would record books for the blind. And then he would go into old folks' homes and he would sit there and hold their hand and talk to them a little bit. And that was his process. So if there's anything like that, if your brother right now, he may not feel like he's got a damn thing to give after being in prison all these years, right? Okay. Right. He does. He has something he can give you right now, today. And that's his love. That's his respect. That's his help. Mm-hmm. And the moment he starts to give, the more healthy and the more healing he'll have.
Yeah. Well, Rob, this is a perfect ending to our second episode on our wheel of life, right? Because we're all living it 24 hours a day, and we all have areas where we could, help and where we could improve and evolve even better, right? And I'm so glad, I am so glad I said to you, I need some advice. Right, because we all, from time to time, need it often. Is like, hey, I got this situation. It's bringing up feelings that I haven't felt in decades, right? And with everything else going on, it's like it's top of mind, and it's really we address some of these traumas that we've been through within the family, right, from many years ago. And I'm glad you shared as well. The experience with your sister, right,
Sure.
and how you're working to try and heal that and improve those relations, with the understanding that you're only in control of what you can do, and that's it.
Exactly. That's the point right there. But this 8 wheels of life here, the good news is every single element is in your control.
Absolutely.
You can make choices with your time to make all those things really work well. And the best, again, I'm thinking about your brother, and I'm thinking about how it's been probably a long time, if ever, when your brother has had an opportunity to truly, on a human level, help someone. And he can do that immediately by going in and going into a old folks home, reading him a book, walking a dog, any of those things.
Yeah.
And the
Animal
moment you
welfare, yes, any of that.
The moment you start to give, you feed yourself. You give an hour of your time, you're going to feed yourself 4 hours of joy. That's it.
Well, Rob, this is a perfect ending to this episode. So thank you very much for the time.
You're welcome.
I know we went over today, but that's quite all right, because if you have a long drive, right, this is a perfect podcast to listen to.
I think so.
You're working out. Yeah. This is a perfect podcast to listen to while you work out or work in the forest, right? And talk to yourself in the forest. So whatever it takes. But thank you very much. And audience, these are the types of information and podcasting that we love to bring to you, because we know when you begin to pay attention to those particular areas in your life that need improvement, you will come up with a plan and things will improve over time. So thank you very much for listening, everybody.
You're welcome.
Theo, Rob, and Professor G, we are out.
We love you, man. We want you all to be your best, okay? Whatever we can help. My best to
Have a good night,
the
everyone.
fam. I will. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into TecoGuide, the app focused on bringing you tools and content to help you make better decisions about school, life, and career. We hope this episode has inspired you to pursue and excel in your own educational and career journey. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and share.